In the meeting.
Yeah.
Just.
813. 6200. 4877.
If it gets hot while we're in here, anybody wants to just open the door, because this room doesn't have a air conditioner in it, and it's cool.
You need the basket? Yeah. Okay.
Anybody want it open?
Yeah, it was at 40 feet. Yeah.
Thanks.
Jay, do you want me to open it?
I would for a little while, before the mosquitoes show up. Unless people are gonna be cold over there.
I don't think we'll be calling.
Needed doors.
You're talking about this is just.
There used to be.
Yeah, just.
Yeah, just have nothing. We have the hat on.
So I was playing that after that, how maybe things.
Yeah, that makes sense. For the board saying.
There he is. Here I a new open door policy. Nature's air conditioning. It's nice to have. Yeah, not to be so hot, but it's nice. It's pretty. I woke up at 47 degrees. Yeah, I think it was nippy, and I still have my windows open. Yeah. It's all right, it's a good start. When you get the hot coffee. Well, yeah.
Yeah, I would say it's a good start.
Hey, Ben.
Oh, it's like moved up.
No one.
It's just the early things we get. Back.
We have that too. Oh, yes.
Here you go.
Your seats left.
Oh, good. Okay.
Did you see the cloud I got?
No, he didn't show me either.
We're not.
No.
Cause you didn't catch it.
All right, it's 6 o'clock. I'll call the meeting to order and we'll start with the pledge of allegiance. Flags in the back. I pledge allegiance to the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So we have a lot on the agenda and a lot of you here, and whenever we get through your business, you should feel free to go if you wish, or you can stay for the whole thing. We do have some adjustments to the agenda. We will be making a decision on our mill rate, which we will do after the meeting with all the committee chairs. And I think that's the only change to the agenda. Is that? Do you? Okay. Does anybody have a conflict of interest with any of the issues before us tonight? No. Okay. The July 13th minutes, did people have a chance to review those? Anybody want to make a motion?
Also.
Okay, all in favor? That's fine. Communications, I did get, two communications that related to sort of, parks sorts of issues. One was, we have a lot of walkers in town and people were hoping we would consider promoting having some benches around for people to stop and rest and enjoy views. And obviously, the town would only control town property, but we could always make a pitch to the community about them considering that on their property. So that was one issue, and the other was input about the Collins Playground, some improvements people wanted to see there. So I've passed those along to Conservation and Parks and Rec to elaborate on those issues, and Brandon, because you are already working on the Collins Park stuff, right? So did anybody else have any communications they wanted to share?
I mean, pretty typical summer communications about a lot of traffic, and people say that there's a lot of speeding. The areas that I'm hearing mostly are usual ones. So Port Clyde into the village, Clark Island Road, and Kinney Woods Road. And so we do have two of the more permanent electronic feedback signs. Those will be going up this summer in Port Clyde and on Clark Island Road to allow us to bring the mobile one to spots that we don't usually get to set it out on. So
When do you expect those?
they're in the process of putting together the like essentially inserts that go in the ground. We had to fabricate them ourselves. So
Any other communications? No? Then let's look at the disbursement warrant. So this was our first time getting the detailed school warrant that's been already approved by the school board and the superintendent. And where's Irene? Is she here? Yeah, sorry. So that amount that we're approving for the school, did you include that in invoices selected?
Yes.
So do you think it belongs there, or do you think it should be a separate line?
I can do it either way.
I think it'd be useful to separate it out from the town expenditures, since we're responsible for approving the individual expenditures for the town, and we are relying on the school board and superintendent for their having approved.
Okay.
Yeah, would that be okay?
Yeah, I
Going
can do that.
forward. Did people have any, and we appreciate the school board and the schools, we're finally like all on the same page about that, and that's great. Did people have any questions about the town's proposed disbursements? No. So, then do we have a consensus that we're approving the disbursement of $318,038.12?
Yeah.
Okay, so then we will sign that for you, Irene. So is there any public comment on any issue other than the things we're gonna have on the agenda? If people want to talk about agenda comments, they can do it as we go. Susie.
I have a public comment because I want to warn all the committee heads that are here that we're getting close on our community climate action plan. And we're going to send you a draft if your committee is mentioned in the plan somewhere. And so, because there's a who do we need to make this successful section. And so if your committee is there, I'm going to send you a draft of the plan along with a survey. It's a very short survey to help us prioritize the work we're going to do. So when you see an email from me like later tonight, you'll know what it is.
All right. Any other public comments before we move on? All right, then, Susie, you're up to talk about the budget to actual figures that we just reviewed in the budget committee.
The budget committee carefully reviewed the final tally for the year. We were pleased with how tight the budget was. We stayed within our overall amount of money that we were allowed to spend. And Georg or Gary, if you want to say anything about it, also, this would be the moment.
But at this point in time, we are about 3 percentage points above the one below the 100% line.
Yeah,
There's still some insecurity. But Irene is confident that she will not hit or cross the 100% line.
yes.
I don't think we will.
Okay.
And Gary, did you have anything?
No,
We went through line by line, and if you have any questions for us, of course, we're happy to answer them. All of our questions were answered.
So kudos to the staff for working hard to keep us within and in fact under the budget that was approved by the voters last spring.
Yeah, because I will add that even with budgets increasing slightly over the last couple of years, the department's budgets as a whole are actually much tighter. Those increases have come from capital expenses like equipment, for a fire truck or an ambulance, or getting the road plan back on track. And to help offset it, we've sort of been pinching from everywhere else and making sure that we're budgeting really to what we're actually spending and not leaving a ton of cushion, so.
Which when you don't have a ton of cushion once in a while is nerve-wracking, but
Yes.
we've managed so far. So did the select board members have any questions about the budget to actual figures? No, okay. Then. I have the tax amendment on here, but I think I'll still bump that later because we've got the school folks and the committee chairs here. So if Jessica, are you presenting who's presenting for the school?
I'm actually talking about her, but.
Okay, Tom, Brad?
Okay, let me give a little bit of history, how we got to where we are today. Talking with Jess over the last couple of years as pre-K has continued to evolve and thinking about, whether or not there was additional real estate that could be made available as the school was extraordinarily full. By happenstance, after Linda Bean's death, Veronica Carlson was going through the assets in that estate and slowly liquidating them. One of the assets was what we would all know as the C-store, which is actually 107 Portside Road. She was aware after conversations with Jess that might be a facility that could be adapted for pre-K. Obviously it didn't work. Veronica's position was that she felt obligated as the executor to liquidate that property for the rest of the estate, for the rest of the beneficiaries of the estate, but was willing to be incredibly flexible about working with a collection of folks to see if in fact we could raise the capital to buy that building and just do a direct sale. Jessica was in the process of creating a 501c3. Those take a while. The federal government isn't necessarily super fast about granting those. And the building needed to be purchased or else Veronica felt that she needed to put it out on the open market. So I went to the board of the Community Development Corporation and laid out what the issue was and said, if we were able to raise funds as a qualified nonprofit and purchase the building and hold it until such time as the town could act, or if the town chose not to take the building, the nonprofit could act, this building could be essentially acquired for that purpose. It was just kind of timing is the only reason the CDC was involved. We did raise the capital to purchase the building. We purchased the building on June 1st, and so now it is actually a subsidiary of the Community Development Corporation. And essentially, it's just sitting. We've done no improvements to it other than change the locks. And we're holding it until we came to an agreement about the disposition of the building. Ideally, I think we would love to have it be acquired by the town. This would just be essentially a donation. It would be the CDC donating it to the town with no other encumbrances. And then, the plan would be to raise private money to achieve the build out that will be necessary to actually house 3 and 4-year-old pre-K. The building itself, many of you may or may not have been inside it. It's basically just a box with a smallish second floor. The plan would be to, that's not enough square footage for 3 and 4-year pre-K. So their plan would be to build an extension off the back, essentially another slightly smaller box. It's a little more, that's like I don't know what the acreage is. It's 1.62 acres. So we'd be fine on lot coverage and all of the other things. And that add-on would provide enough qualified space to host 3 and 4-year-old pre-K according to, state rules. So the plan would be ideally that the town did the work to acquire the property, brought the referendum up, get the voters to approve, and then we would essentially transfer the building to the town, with the idea being that the town would hold it. And there'd be minimal costs to hold the building. It doesn't need to be heated. The plumbing has all been drained. So there's minimal expenses for just electricity. And then hold the building until such time as we raised enough capital to actually do the capital improvements. And by that point, working with the school, Jess's organization would be able to essentially spec out what would be necessary for that. Community Development Corporation was a friend here, but once the building is transferred, we'd essentially be out of any operational role in this.
So just so that people have a little background, at the time that our school withdrew from RSU 13, the memorandum of understanding stated that the property on which our school is currently located, all our school buildings are currently owned by the town. That was transferred to the town. But obviously those buildings are controlled and operated by the MSU, the school. And, they raise money. We all vote on the school's budget for renovations, modifications to that. And we all know they raised a good bit of money to build the Grace Center. So that's where we are with the buildings we already have.
Okay.
And so you're proposing that the town, and the voters would have to approve this, the 5 of us can't accept donations of property. That the residents of St. George would agree to accept the donation from the CDC of this building for the purpose of having a zero to school program
Yes.
in there, right?
And that's actually, thank you for that. That's actually kind of an important caveat. We represented to the donors who are members of the community that was the stated purpose. So I think we would want to attach that to the
Right.
donation. That, for the present time, for the foreseeable future, that would be donated for the use by the school as an extension to the campus to host pre-K.
So I guess my question for Jennifer, who's president of the school board, and Christina, the superintendent, and Jess, is sort of I know that a lot of people in the community have been aware that you want to do this, and there have been public meetings and you came to the select board and talked to us, but there probably are still a lot of people who might not be aware that you're hoping to acquire this property for this purpose. And given that it's even if you raise money to do the renovations and get it off the ground, there will be costs going forward. So I'm just wondering how you're hoping to get the community on board to, and what your timing is for voting, getting people to vote to accept the donation.
Jennifer, hold on. So I wanted to just speak really quickly to add the childhood piece. So we didn't come up with this immediately, we want to do this. I've listened to the town talk since I started here and have worked with families. I think I know every family that has a baby all the way up to kindergarten now, and I've seen it in the comprehensive plan. They've asked for this, and so it feels like honoring with the community needs and what they want. So I think starting with that population and just saying, hey, we got this, we're gonna be moving forward, and then starting a committee of probably all kinds of different people. So it's a community run and developed kind of thing so that everybody stands behind it. But certainly getting out, making it really public that that's the building that will be there, putting some stuff up in front of it, with a picture and the renovation. And then really getting out, starting to have some of those conversations. I think we've done a nice job with one subset of community and then just continuing to spread. The cool thing about having zero to school attached, it's not about pre-K that's run by the school. That nonprofit will allow us to run after school programs which aren't available for that age child. Summer program, which is not available for that age child, and eventually potentially even childcare if we have the space to do that, which would solve a huge hole that's missing in this community that would not only support the health and wellness of children and families, but probably economic development too.
Right.
So I'm really excited about this.
Yeah, and I know, having been very involved in the comprehensive plan development, that when the St. George Business Alliance did their survey of businesses in town, housing was their greatest concern, the cost of housing, and childcare was our second greatest concern. So you're right, I think you're right that, you know, I'm thinking about the fact that the median age in our town is 64. So I know that you guys involved with the school know everybody with little kids, but I know everybody with gray hair, and a lot of us are sitting here with gray hair. And so I want to make sure that every argument that you can bring to bear, like the economic development arguments that you're having, and I know that everybody in town cares about this not just being a town of people with gray hair. And so,
Even though they'll have it eventually.
well, right, eventually we all have it, but attracting families to our community, and the school has been a huge draw for people to come to St. George. Those are positive arguments. But so if you could talk about the timing, because as you know, our normal town meeting schedule we don't, we can have a town meeting whenever we want to have one, and we just have to have a public hearing, and all that kind of stuff. But normally we wouldn't have people voting on some big thing until like next May. So, but Rob is basically saying they would like to not own the building sooner than that, right? Is that what you're saying?
Ideally, yes, but if there are obstacles to doing it in a certain time frame, we have an agreement with the school that they're gonna use it for dry storage. So that'll offset some of the expenses we have in operating it, which are not high. So we're prepared to hold on to it until it's the right moment to make the transfer to the town. If there's obstacles to doing it quickly, then it's not really a problem for us to hold it. I do think, though, we wanted to make clear that the intention is we do march down this path, that eventually the town does acquire it on behalf of the MSU. But if it had to be next May, we can handle that.
Well, I'm curious what the other select board members think about, about this as a goal for the community and the timing of when, because the select board would have to vote for it to go to a public vote. When people feel like.
We have a referendum in November. Can it go on that referendum?
Well, you mean a vote?
Well, we got the election in November.
Right, we have elections in
we
November,
could-
so we could
We
have
got it, the gears.
people coming to the town hall, they could vote on one more thing.
If we get the gears moving, we should be able to do it of that night.
60 days, right, ahead of the vote to do the public meeting, okay.
I think November would be optimum, and I haven't talked to Jess. We have two of us are on for early childhood committee. We've been working on it. We don't see any obstacles in getting the whole town behind it. One of the things Jess did with her little kids is go to a senior luncheon, and she's got some great photos. So I think that having Jess become a grandmother myself, I think that the older people in the community want to help the young people. And we have a great group of parents who've been involved in Jess's group who made a video and can promote this. And we're going to a concert, aren't we, Wednesday, Valerie? Yes.
It's not right now.
Yes, so we're actively working on this, so to November would be great. We are overcrowded at the school. We've had to do a lot of moving. And we're anxious to try to get in our own space and give the school space back to some of the bigger kids, as much as people have loved having them there, so the sooner we could get going. It would, I think, be favorable to us.
There is one more consideration on timing, just you're thinking about like kind of following the same path as with the Grace, there was a lot of private money raised to make that happen. We can't really start doing major private money until the fate of the building is really
Right.
set. There are, and Jess can speak about this at length, there are some major foundations who have interest in this project. There are community members who have indicated substantial interest in supporting this, but you can't actually start really bringing in money until it's clear
Sure.
where the building is going. So sooner rather than later makes it available for pre-K sooner.
Would there be, I mean, you're like us and that the community already voted on your budget for that started July 1st until June 30th. And did you have money in your budget for some of this?
We have money in our budget for the item that he was just referring to about the storage. So
Okay.
we're using that money for the time. We don't have anything further beyond that budget for this school year. And just to comment on your question before about timeline, we'd love to start promoting this, but we really want to be a solid plan to make sure the town is supportive about this before we start promoting it.
But you're not gonna have any budget obligations before the community would have?
No.
So you don't,
No.
that's not an issue, because it's mostly planning that would be happening
And
between now.
fundraising.
Yeah, okay,
If I may, just to clarify that, because I want to make sure everybody understands, there would be minimal energy costs and there would be insurance. Because of
Right,
course the building would have to be
right.
insured. Now, I'm assuming that's a very different insurance rate that the town gets than we're doing as private insurance, but
Yeah,
those
I
are the
don't-
only real expenses.
and that's something we've just been talking about some is insurance. The school, because the school properties are controlled by the school, they're insured by the school, even though they're owned by the town. So I'm sure whatever your insurance is for, it
We would-
probably isn't very much.
We would need to add that to our
Yeah.
policy.
But those I think would be the only changed expenses in taking on ownership of the building.
Tammy, do you have anything?
I think we should try to shoot for November and have it on the ballot because they've got to start fundraising and then once that's complete, they've got to start renovations on the building,
Yeah.
so the sooner things get moving along, the better off everybody will be.
Another point is up.
No.
Well, I agree with Jen. I think that everybody here seems like they know what they're doing, and if you guys are ready to push it, then I think the town should.
Yeah.
Actually, we should help. It's a
Steve?
great idea.
I agree with, very exciting project, and I don't think it'll be, famous last words, but I don't see this being controversial. I think there's support from all sides. The other great thing about a November vote would be a big turnout. It's representative.
Yeah, that was the concern I had. I think I wouldn't want to hold a special town
Right.
meeting for something so consequential, but
Right.
knowing that you'll get an even bigger turnout in November than you would at town meeting, I think it's a good time to do it.
One asset that you already have is an early sort of conceptual plan of what this phase one development would look like. So, architectural plans, so we already have something to kind of show to their community members as to what this would look like once the build out is complete.
So would we do a community meeting eventually?
Pardon?
Would we do a community meeting?
Yes, there would have to be a public hearing, because it was something people would be voting on. So we will, so if I guess we're all in favor of proceeding
Do we need a vote on
with, we may as well.
I'll make the motion then.
No, you shouldn't make the
I
motion
should-
because you work for the school. Someone else. Someone else.
Whoa.
We all agree with you, but you shouldn't be the one making the motion.
What do we make the motion on?
That we're gonna proceed with a goal of getting this on the November ballot.
Yeah, I make a motion.
Do we have to add in there acquiring the building from the CDC?
Yeah, I mean, the warrant language we will be voting on when we get closer, you know, to what the specific district would be. Yeah, this is basically a vote to let everybody know that we are planning to make it happen to get this on the November ballot, as long as we can go on counting backwards, you know, make the dates work.
I will.
Okay. Tammy seconded, all in favor?
Can I vote?
We'll let you vote, since it's officially 4-0, but informally 5-2. So, oh, yes, Gail.
May I ask a question from the
Sure.
budget committee? You assume the building is set up and operational. The cost of operating it thereafter in operation, would the school carry that?
Yeah.
Yeah, and all the responsibility, so we wouldn't have to budget for that.
Right.
Thank you.
The same way that all the other school buildings work. The only exception was like when we had to be the borrower for their heating and cooling repairs, because we own the property with us. So that is the only kind of exception that is a state requirement, so.
I just want to say one quick comment. I don't want to embarrass your guests, but if anyone can make this happen, you can. You are phenomenal. Don't swallow her head.
Donated the building to us, and some individuals who put Tom, Rob, and people have put time in, so amazing things happen here, no, really.
Yeah.
blows my mind.
It's an amazing
Community.
Yeah. Ken?
Oh, Jennifer came to the last Conservation Commission meeting and asked the Conservation Commission if they'd be interested in supporting the project and looking into a nature-based aspects of it on the property. And we were wholeheartedly in favor of it. In fact, we went out last week and did a first survey of some of the properties. So I have a question for Rob.
Yeah.
The property you mentioned was 1.6 acres. There are actually 2 parcels.
Yeah, that's
So
the
really,
parcel that holds the building. Then you're correct. I didn't speak exactly accurately. There's, the purchase included 2 parcels, the one that holds the building, which is smaller. There's another parcel sort of behind and to the right. So there's actually a not small quantity of available like trail land that could be added onto this project.
Yeah, I mean, we found that.
Up to other land. Right.
Yeah, I think we found the back parcel was much more applicable to any type of trails.
Right, it's I mean, unlike a lot of St. George, it's mostly dry. And you know, would make really nice trails.
So when you're doing the warrant, it would be, the town would be accepting 2 parts.
Yeah, it's actually, it's 2 parcels on the tax map.
Okay.
I don't have them off the top of my
Yeah.
head, but I'll make sure you get all that. We've got them. Yeah,
Veronica should really be commended because they
absolutely.
did not put this, we worked with them for a long time to not put this on the commercial market, and they took a big drawdown to have what the price would be for this to happen. So, I mean, they saw this as a really important part of Linda's legacy.
Well, that's good. Yes, Linda was very supportive of the school. All right, well, thank you. Thank you for coming, school friends. And feel free to stay, or you may go if you wish.
There'll be an announcement at the end of the day tomorrow about plans for the concert, by the way, so we'll make the call.
So tomorrow, the Wednesday's concert is gonna raise money for this program. Is that the charity for Wednesday?
Yes, here it is.
I think the goal is gonna be to keep it tomorrow, if that's all possible, because the rain date was Thursday and that's.
Yeah, I think, it looks like a form that can rain Thursday or Wednesday.
And then next Tuesday is another. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, so. The next thing is all the committee chairs, thank you for coming. This is, you know, a requirement in our town charter and select board policies that we meet once a year, all the committee chairs. So I appreciate your being here, and there are always some new people, relatively new and brand new committee chairs. So if Aaron, if you want to run the PowerPoint. That's kind of an orientation thing, and I know this is familiar to all of you, most of you, but sometimes it's good to have a refresher on what's expected to us based on the town charter and the select board policies and state law. So hopefully you can see this, and if you can't, feel free to move around. And you make it up to date. All right. Next slide. So as you probably know, under Maine law, and our town has chosen the town meeting select board town manager form of government. And the select board is basically the executive branch of government for our town. Unlike your representatives to Augusta and Washington, we are not representatives. And just like having to vote on accepting the donation of this property, it's the voters who are the legislative branch in our form of government. So that's the role the five of us have, and the town manager runs the town day to day and is in charge of hiring and supervising all of the town staff, including the people that work with your committees. Next. So, most of the committees, with a few exceptions, are advisory to the select board. So the budget committee meets and gives us their advice about budgetary issues. The conservation commission brings us, let's apply for a grant and develop these trails, things like that. And then a few of the committees are different. The planning board and board of appeals also sit basically as judges about land use issues. So they are not, when they're doing that job, they are not advisory to us, and we cannot tell them what to do. Next. So this is just an organizational chart of our town form of government, with the town meeting, the legislative body, and the town charter making the rules and telling the select board what to do. The committees and boards are off to the side. The only other committee that's different from all of these is the school committee, because as you know, their board is separately elected by the public, and the public votes on their budget separately. But because we have a municipal school unit, and the town raises that money on their behalf after the voters voted for it, it kind of funnels through us, which we looked at tonight. But the other town staff are on here, the assessor's agent, the clerk, the finance director, harbor master, all those folks that we know and work for Brandon. They don't work directly for the select board or the committees, they work for Brandon. Next. So these are the committees that were created in the town charter, which, as you can see, is not the full list of committees that we have. And in addition to that, we've created the cemetery committee, emergency services, parks and rec, resilience, scholarship, and then we have ad hoc committees that have particular jobs, like the open space committee and the TIF committee, and those committees just last for the period until they get their job done, and then they wind down. So even though you're volunteers, we are considered under Maine law town officials, and we all, as you know, come in and take an oath to follow the Maine Constitution and laws, and we sign a document saying we're going to do that, and we commit to attending the meetings of our committees and boards and working well together. So the town charter and the select board policy manual have some specific obligations for committee members, and those are on these pages. And one thing I'm going to do is I'm gonna set up a Google Drive for all the committee chairs. You've all seen the Excel spreadsheet that has every committee member and their contact information and when their term ends. So I'm gonna put that in there so you can have access to that. Because there, I don't know, maybe 110 or 15 people on all of our boards and committees. And it's really helpful to me if you help keep that up to date. Although I think as of today, I think it's up to date. And Patty's really helpful with that. We're always trying to make sure we know when people's terms expire. And I will also put these pages of the select board policy manual and the charter in there. So that if you have, you know, we can kind of put together a committee packet for a brand new committee member, like here's your expectations that are in the town charter and the select board policy manual. Yeah, so
Is that something that you will put together, give to chairs to distribute to, because we kind of did that at our last meeting, but there were some missing pieces.
Yeah,
And I
so
think that's
I'm
gonna be
gonna-
really important.
I'm gonna create a Google Drive and put this stuff in there, and then if you want printed copies of the stuff, Patty will be the person in the town office who can print out what you need.
Okay, and it will be specific, just direct Parks and Rec. It will just be Parks and Rec.
It won't
not
be
the-
just Parks and Rec.
It will be the
It'll
whole thing.
Yeah, because the only thing that's specific to Parks and Rec is almost all the committees have like a charge
Mhm.
from the select board. Here's what, you know, we want the open space committee to do, or Parks and Rec. That's just like a paragraph.
Okay.
But for new people, I think having been around long enough that we've had some brand new committees where people didn't really understand the expectations of them, it's become clear to me that it's helpful and this PowerPoint presentation will be in there. You could always just have them look at that so they can see these same things.
My concern is that it's like 84 pages, right?
It would end up being,
But you
I know that it would
come
be
in and
that
Patty
big.
can print off the specific Parks and Rec
Which
section.
we kind of did, but we were still missing some stuff, so.
Cause I know, like your committees had people who didn't attend,
Mhm.
you know, that became a big concern. And that it is an expectation in the, you know,
Yeah.
stuff that, and if people don't come after 3 meetings, you can basically say, we're assuming you're no longer on here because you don't come. You know, those things are in these policies, so you could share that, share that going in, so they know that might happen to them.
Yeah.
And
And we've
then,
covered all this in our committee at least, and I have handed out. And I have passed on, you know, the Google form that was sent to me, so I think we're good there. I just wanted to, I wasn't clear on if you were breaking it down for each committee to actually.
no, it'll pretty be generic, except that, I can,
Currently, though, our committee member onboarding system is essentially show up and observe for a year, and then you'll maybe feel confident to really participate. And so, especially with committees like Parks and Rec, where folks are serving 1-year terms, we're just trying to do a little bit more upfront and outline some of the expectations and.
well, and a lot of it has fallen on committee chairs, so. You know, I mean, I know Susie gives the budget committee people, like, here's some stuff for you to know. It hasn't been consistent, and I just wanna make it easier for you guys to do whatever you wanna do to provide them with stuff. So that, particularly then if you run into problem people, you know, you kind of laid the groundwork.
Yeah.
Okay, next. So, in general, committees should be focusing on policy level things like, you know, the climate action plan, the resilience committee is working on that. You know, the comprehensive plan group did that, or, some overarching advice that you're gonna bring to the select board. Here's what we want the open space plan. We recommend the open space plan look like. or like when we renovated the Port Clyde Landing, the Harbor Committee did a lot of work and brought us. In fact, tonight we're looking at updating fees for usage, but things that are our job to decide, you're bringing your recommendations after doing more homework than we have time to do for making trails or whatever. Now, some of you, especially the Conservation Commission, are doing much more nitty gritty work than I'm implying when I say that you're doing kind of the big policy stuff, but that in general is the division between the committees as advisory to the select board. So next. So especially now that we have a comprehensive plan that does include all these goals for the committees and the departments. At the beginning of the fiscal year, you should set goals for your committee. So, for example, the solid waste committee is working on their composting plan and things that are environmentally friendly like that are, goals in the comp plan. So you set that as your goal and whatever other goals you have for the year. That especially trying to match them with things in the comprehensive plan. And we have a tracking tool that will tell you what the things are for your committee that are in the comprehensive plan, and then help you track your progress. So Erin is the one who devised that tool, and she is totally willing to come meet with you either as chair or come to your committee and show people what that looks like and help you utilize that so that we are basically, all of us are trying to steer the ship to do what the community said were the goals for the next 10 years in the comprehensive plan. So this is how we're gonna kind of keep it going in that direction and not have the comprehensive plan be like in a notebook on somebody's shelf. We need to keep moving forward.
That info is accessible on the town.
It's on the town website, the comprehensive plan. But the tracking tool will be in this Google Drive for you guys, and that is different for each committee. So, obviously, you're not going to be answering questions that are about the Emergency Services Committee's goals that are in there,
So that will be sent to committee chairs.
Yeah.
Am I still presenting about that today?
Are you?
Thought I was, but.
Okay, good.
Okay.
When we're done with this, that's what's gonna be next. Erin will show you how it works. And then that way, ideally, and I'm behind myself as a select board, because of course we have every single one of the goals in the comprehensive plan ultimately sort of falls on us. The goal is that like in December, you would fill out the tracking tool, like here's where we are toward the goals we set in July or August. We've made this much progress. And then at the end of the year, you would let the select board know how far you got. And obviously you all already do a report that goes in the annual report book that comes out. Essentially, that's what you've already been doing in there is you're telling the community, this is what we did this year. But there's also this tool that Erin devised that will keep us.
Sorry, I have a
Sure, go
question about
ahead.
this. So when does the comprehensive plan get revised every year? Like when do you hear from the town?
It doesn't get revised.
Okay.
It would,
The 10-year plan.
yeah.
Okay, so what we're seeing, like, so rec committee's waiting, next meeting, we want to go over the comprehensive plan before we set our yearly goals.
Right.
So that won't.
You guys actually did not have a bunch of things that were specifically directed to you,
Right.
except that open space and parks, is a priority
Mhm.
in there. And I do think that the three of you sitting here need to, be working together, like when people say to me, let's have some benches or, you know, the
Which we
school.
talked about setting up a comprehensive.
Right, having, you know, you all collaborate, and then also one thing that was in the comprehensive plan was that the community wanted to see more multi-generational recreational opportunities. And the Snows Point Lodge acquisition was a part of that, and so those are the two things that come to my mind off the top of my head.
Yep.
And
Those are things that we want to use to start to base our goals on this year.
Right.
And then you'll have plenty of goals that are focused on
Yep.
1 year and shorter term.
Right.
That will still exist in your committee, but we really just wanted to make sure you were keeping the comp plan, bigger picture pieces in mind while you were setting.
Yep.
goals.
Right. Okay. So, so one thing that occurred to me in with respect to like the climate action plan, the renovations to the Port Clyde Landing, sometimes committees get off on a project and there may be forks in the road in your project and you're just kind of in the groove doing your thing. And I feel like it's important for committees, if you come to a fork in the road, to come back to the select board and just check in and make sure that we're all on the same page. So an example that occurred to me was like the Harbor Committee was told at some point to prioritize parking over green space on the Port Clyde Landing project. And so they did that. But then some of us who remembered the big maps that were on the tables upstairs when we came, you know, to vote to acquire that property, we're like, wait, where's the green space, you know? And so I just feel like a useful thing for the committees is to remember that if there's something that seems like a big decision that the community, you know, in the climate action plan, the work on the cold storage road and factory roads, you know, anything that you probably will have a sense of, this feels like we should be, you know, our liaison, we all, you know, have assignments to committees, that you should kind of bring it back to the select board to say like, okay, does everybody agree that this is the path? Parking is more important than green space, you know, and then if everybody's in agreement, then fine. Instead of having people say later, well, wait, I never heard that, you know, by now it's like practically paved. So that's just to keep us all on the same page. And also the select board changes. So you may have gotten everybody buying in 2 years ago on renovations to, you know, the landing. And now you got new select board people who didn't know that. So this is really about dealing with town staff. You know, some committees like the Conservation Commission don't have a staff person, but then Parks and Rec has the Parks and Rec director that's very involved in the work that you're doing. And so it's important to remember, again, that staff work for Brandon, and again, that we're town officials, and if we have issues with town staff, we need to be constructive in how those things are discussed at committee meetings, and basically any issues people have with town staff should be brought to the town manager to deal with, you know. It's, you know, the solid waste committee, some of you do have people that you're much more involved with than other committees who are kind of off doing their thing and there's not a staff person, but I do want all the committee members to realize that they need to be constructive in feedback about staff people and bring concerns to Brandon. And that's true for us too. You know, we probably occasionally have issues with staff people, but nobody's gonna hear me, I hope, ever at the post office or the general store saying something about town employees.
Other than that, they're great.
That's right.
Excellent.
It'll just be like that, the old saying, if you have nothing good to say, just don't say it. So, or say it to Brandon.
Yes.
Which is important because he needs to hear any concerns that people have. And when people say stuff to me at the Ocean House or whatever, I say, you need to tell Brandon that, you know. This is just about our communication, making sure, and for the liaisons too, this is helpful, I think, for us to be paying attention. We kind of get into a routine where like, you know, they met on Monday and then this is what they did on Monday at their committee meeting. But I feel like to some extent, we also need to keep track of the forks in the road, the big picture decisions, like you guys are defining what is open space or, you know, what recommendation, those are the things that we probably should focus on more than some of the nitty gritty, like they painted the gates at the cemetery or, you know, not that we don't want to know that stuff. And in general, the committee members and committees don't really have anything to do with the budget. I mean, once a year, you will be asked in the fall by Brandon, if you have allocations that your committee, would like made. But, the budget process is mostly the town manager sets the budget in consultation with the budget committee, brings it to the select board, and then we put it to the voters. So the committees aren't spending money or, I mean, you guys do actually raise money, Conservation Commission being one, the only exception where you're actually.
I meet with the department heads, before building my first recommendation of a budget, and so. You are a committee that doesn't have a staff member, like the open space committee, for example, although Aaron works, closely. You know, feel free to, set up a meeting with me to talk about upcoming projects that you want to make sure are included.
So, and this is obviously really important that we all have to comply with the freedom of access, laws in Maine. And so every meeting that has to be in public. You know, essentially, if you cannot get together with your friends at your kitchen table who are on your committee, it just can't happen and talk about town business. So even workshops, all of the meetings of the committees have to be posted on the town website so that the public could attend if they want to. And that's the whole point of it. We're doing work on behalf of town residents and they're entitled to attend and hear what we're saying and comment on what we're doing. Maine law does not require an agenda ahead of time, but the select board policies do say that we're gonna do agendas. You know, everybody's practice is a little different, but if you have an agenda and can get it to Bill Batty, he'll post it. And that way the public will know what's gonna be talked about. You know, you may have noticed that in the time since I've been chair, it's been my goal to have our agenda be much more specific so that the public can see really what we're doing tonight. Because how are they gonna know if they care, if they can't tell what we're talking about? So, that is, and then the law does require that minutes be taken and posted after everything, even a workshop. If you do a workshop, you don't have to have some detailed thing. You can just say, we meant to work through these issues. You know, this is where we're heading with this, you know, could be relatively short, but that applies to all of us. And so, and it is your job as chair to make sure that the minutes get posted. So every committee is supposed to have a secretary. And I know some of you have gotten stuck with being secretary as well as being chair. And so I think maybe the next slide is about, well, there's a slide about the fact that, We have not yet adopted an AI policy, which was a goal of the select board for this past year. And the reason we haven't done that is that we're waiting for the Maine Municipal Association to develop their model policy for municipalities. But, some committees are using AI to help draft the minutes. And, you know, we haven't discussed this. We should probably do it right now. I think it's fine if you use AI to help you draft what happened, but the humans on the committee have to read that, make sure it's accurate, make sure it didn't leave something out. Because these are, you know, the public records for all time of what happened at your meeting, and they need to be accurate. So I guess if other people are okay with using like Zoom recordings to help summarize what happened as your first draft. But, you know, when you show them to your committee, they have to review them and vote on them as being accurate. Does that seem like a reasonable policy? Okay, that's the policy we adopted for now on that. Yeah,
So one of the things that we were questioning, just getting into doing all of this correctly was we're not approving our minutes until the next meeting, but we're posting them publicly before they're approved. Is that okay?
It is okay. It should say draft on there.
Okay.
And, you know, most committees are meeting pretty frequently, so it's only a month or 2 months before, if they're not posting, most committees don't post the draft. We don't post the draft of ours. But if you have a committee like the Board of Appeals, they meet, we haven't had an appeal in 3 years. But they have their organizational meeting once a year. It probably makes sense for them to post the draft, like here's who was at the organizational meeting in July of 26, because they may not meet again until July of 27. So,
A couple other pieces real quickly, because, there are the, fellow requirements and we have to maintain some records. There are town emails that are available for every committee chair. That way, if somebody submits a FOA request, you don't have to sift through your personal email to try to find every communication about a specific subject. So we can Bill Valley will get you set up with that. The other piece is that allows us to archive any of your communications or documents or files that are in there, well beyond your term as chair.
right, and we did have, during the comprehensive plan process, we had a group that said they were gonna make a FOA request, related to the fishing aspect of our draft of the comprehensive plan. And so John Malte spent, I don't know how many hours going through his personal email to make sure that all the emails in our committee he collected, so that.
That can also be mitigated by keeping email communication strictly to scheduling meetings and then taking care of all of your business and discourse in the meeting. So that
Yeah,
reflects-
dream on, Brandon.
To say. The other thing,
Some committees, I won't say which ones, need to be told they really shouldn't be having text groups either. Because there's some people have gotten into that unfortunate habit.
family does make your phone subject to.
Right, you would not want your phone to be turned over to somebody to have them wading through whatever all you have on there to find texts that are town business. So not that this is very likely for most of you, but
So do we talk to Brandon, we talk to Bill, how do we get, cause I would love to have that email, like I'm always trying to figure out who I emailed about something and I can't figure out between my different.
If you shoot me an email, I'll connect you with Bill.
I
We'll
would
get you
love to
set
have
up.
that, that would
Yeah.
make my life easier.
yes.
Do these policies, affect the school board?
Yes, but things that are in the town charter affect the school board. So like the meeting, and most of those are also state law, like the things we're talking about now, the freedom, they have the same
The
laws.
requirements for minutes, timely minutes and being able to access those, meetings of the school board.
Yes, although there may be some separate laws for school boards. Jennifer, do you know if they're separate laws? They're probably
I know
the
they're not
same.
exactly the same, because some of the things you're talking about, we don't handle the exact same way, but we often have training about how inappropriate it is for us to discuss anything on email. We don't do that, or text.
Right.
Especially if it was a chain, because once there's three of us, then that becomes an official meeting. So we can't do that.
Does the school board, publicly post their minutes?
We do post our minutes, but again, we do not post draft minutes like the select board does. So you have to wait a whole month to see, and you can get them on the St. George MSU.
The other piece I wanted to add is that we are going to be recording more committee meetings. And we may not post every one of them, but if there's a topic of interest to the public, we'll be adding more of those to the town's YouTube channel as well. Sort of did it with the select board as a pilot, and we saw that we were able to expand our reach, drastically when we'd have, when we'd have 2 or 3 people here in attendance, you'd see 150 that watched it on YouTube after. So we're gonna keep increasing that throughout committees as well. We've started already with a couple, but just so that you're aware.
That is useful for you to know too, because, just like the presentation from the school group, there are people that watch our YouTube recordings that might learn about that wouldn't have heard about it some other way. So if there are things that you want highlighted to get out, in our minutes or at these meetings, those recordings have been, helpful. Yeah.
Maybe you're gonna cover it on another slide, but to that point, what are the rules about Zoom and voting and all the rest, and can committee members, can I have a committee member that zooms in, can they vote?
Yes, you can vote if you're on Zoom tonight and you're homesick or something. We had a meeting during a blizzard where all of us were on Zoom. When you do that, you have to say who's voting. This is Jane voting yes.
The other piece is that if you open, I believe this is a select board policy, that if you allow committee members to attend remotely, then you need to allow the public to attend remotely as well.
Yeah. I say every slide on it, we have Zoom for everything.
Right. And, and there is a slide and I think your committee, emergency services, there probably is a fair amount of interest in it. You start, no, you'd be surprised, there are a lot of people who in the past were volunteer firefighters, but they're not now. They might wanna watch the recording, and so, I think it's great that we're doing that, and, so.
Jane?
Yeah,
I have a question relative to the workshop.
yeah.
Is there a fine line between a workshop and we go out and do trail maintenance? Do we have, if we have more than 2 members, do we have to have a public?
Oh, geez.
I was gonna ask that with, sometimes we get together to plan stuff for Muscle Ridge.
Yeah, but if you're planning
That's
something,
okay.
That's a boosters group.
no, if the boosters are not a town, but,
If you're not talking about business.
town business.
Then I don't think that it would be considered a workshop, and you wouldn't
Okay.
require the same.
I mean, it's common sense.
Right, I know, but
I just wanna make sure we weren't.
There's been some fine lines.
it
Well,
is.
there has, I mean, in the old
Done
days,
things, we thought we were fine. and we
Farmers
kept
Restaurant was the place to meet. I mean, things were decided.
And you do often post that you're looking for volunteers to help with trail maintenance on Saturday, the whatever. So people usually would have noticed that that's happening, but I don't think if we're doing trail maintenance.
If you're not making decisions outside of the specific work that's happening that day, then I don't think that it would count as a workshop.
Good.
Or discussion, deliberation, and decisions. So, that's why even just talking to 2 select board members at the post office would be prohibited if you're discussing something that's town business. All right. Yeah, email should be, you know, you can let people know, here, this is an issue that's coming before us. Here are the attachments, here's your homework before we meet. So and so is coming. Are you available on this date or that date? But not the back and forth. In email. So, yeah, that's all. We've covered all that. There's the AI minute thing. YouTube. Yeah, and we're not, you know, we are encouraging YouTube recordings. And posting on the town website, but we are not requiring it and, you know, for us, it's usually easy, but there are times where we have a 5-minute meeting to approve something and we're not gonna record that, but there will be minutes, 1 sentence. Do people have any questions?
In terms of the YouTube thing, if I have Bill Batty set up the Zoom and he's recording it, then he can do the YouTube recording, nothing I have to do.
You don't have to do anything
Yeah,
else.
yeah.
It's
He's
downloaded
welcome.
to
He can
our.
post every scintillating recording he has of the person.
Publicly open, I mean, if we're zooming, anybody in the public can ask for the link to join.
Correct.
They do have to request the link
Yeah.
ahead of time. Typically by 2 p.m. the day of the meeting.
Yeah, because some of you will remember the cemetery committee in particular, when we had just open. We got hacked. There was.
It was interesting.
Conservation Commission as well, yeah.
Right.
Some unfortunate events, so it's too bad they can't trust people to be.
We trust most people.
Well, I thank you so much from all of us to all of you for, you know, I'm just in awe of how much volunteers do for our town, and you guys are the leaders of that, and it's extraordinary. I know Nicole said to me, you know, in her town, in Edgeton where she lives, she's like, you have so many committees and they're doing so much work. So.
It's wonderful to see all these faces here, it really is. Impressive.
Budget committee and the select board committee, and half the time, not everybody shows up to the meetings.
So we are very fortunate. Thank you all for what you do for the town. All right, well, if you feel free to stay, but you can.
I'm just gonna have Aaron.
No. This is more important than everything I said.
Can people kind of see that, or should I pull it up bigger?
Bigger.
Bigger.
Leave that open.
Find out.
You know, the sun.
Hi,
everyone.
Really exciting.
Very exciting to hear about the kids that are here. That's great.
Bye.
Brenda, can you pull up that thing? And then I guess share your screen for the Zoom recording.
Sue told me she had to go because she's involved in the music at Wiley's Corner that started it a little while ago.
That bigger? Sort of.
Maybe we should gather and.
Moving up. We took the screen board down. I can see the.
Yeah.
Oh,
Gosh, don't do that, Aaron. We'll come over here.
We're gonna bring your chair or what, those supposed to stand. How you can-
It's not that.
I don't know, the other one was longer. Oh my God.
Don't have any questions.
It's not that big. I gotta stand up.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's pretty big. Okay.
So the fourth option is that you have this link, which Jane sent a few weeks ago, but I assume she'll send it again. Then you have everything you need. So you go to that link. This Google spreadsheet comes up. This up here is mainly just background info. So if you get everything that was said today, you will have it there. There's also a link to the comp plan if you need bedtime reading. And then what you're really interested in is this yellow box. So you go there, you find your committee, so we'll say Parks and Rec. You go to that link. And then this again is just background information. Maybe not needed, you have to acknowledge this is a person committee, the name,
You do that just one time, put in who you are every time you're filling it out.
every time you're filling it out, yes. You put your name, you put your role, so probably can. But you could collaborate on that, and then, so first it takes you to all the strategies that your committee is responsible for, and it requests that you put an answer for all of them about what you've done or not done. So if you get to one and you haven't done anything for it, then you just say, we haven't started this, but we plan to do it at this time, or whatever you have planned for. And then once you get through all the ones you're responsible for, you get to the ones that you are consulting on. So you may not have anything to say for this. These are things that other committees or the select board, the town manager, or whoever would consult you on. And so then if you have anything to say for this, or if you have suggestions, I guess you could put it in there. But you might just scroll right past all of that, and you can write anything else if you want to.
So this is what you would expect to see midway through the year,
Yeah.
in December.
Twice a year.
Okay.
Or make, yeah, at
Yeah.
least even
It's
quarterly.
enough
Why don't
for
you
you.
click on Harbor Committee for a second? Just
Okay.
a different one.
Yeah, Bill, going down.
And once you submit it, it gives you the link right back to where you started, and so you can go back there. So we'll see what happens.
Look, it's all filled out.
Miracle.
Want to thank Bill for staying on too.
Yeah. Very good.
Don't pick on him.
3 more years, I suppose.
I know. It's so nice of him to sign up. This is very.
Nine?
Double land use.
Like specific examples of.
An example of a strategy that.
Well, here, so for the Harbor Committee, support the development and implementation of local and regional harbor management plans, ensuring that public input is solicited and incorporated. So the harbor master and the Harbor Committee are responsible for this, so can't just wait for someone else to ask you to do it. And then you might consult various other people, and then it also gives the timeline, so this is ongoing, I guess, because of the regional plan, but actually I think there's another one that says it's like short term. So anyway, but it gives you a timeline. It could be ongoing, which is it occurs on a regular basis. It could be short term, which is 1 to 3 years. It could be midterm, which is within 5 years, and then long term is within 10 years. And then once you submit it, you can see your responses and the responses of all past people. So yeah, there's my example response, and if there were more text, you would see it here. And it'll just collect in rows every time you submit it. So ideally, you would only submit it like once, maybe twice per reporting period, so that we don't have to, or so the select board doesn't have to look through a bunch of rows.
So all committee chairs can access or see what other committees are working on, what their goals are,
Right.
what they're, where
And the
they're at.
Blackboard, we can all see what everybody's doing toward the
Does the
comprehensive plan.
public also have access to that, or is it
No,
really just the
not
committees?
in this.
Okay.
You could put, I mean, the select board could post it, they don't do.
We just would want to make sure that people have a viewing only, so they
Yeah.
can mess it up.
Well, it's a lot to sit through. I think it
Yeah.
would make sense after year 1 to pull out some of the key takeaways and
Right.
highlight some, I mean, a lot of that shows up in the town report anyway,
Right.
but. We might be able to get more specific on plan goals.
Write the town report and you have it all.
Yeah,
Right, right.
exactly.
My other question is like, if I wanted to go on here, cause I've messed with it a little bit, but I've just been so busy, I haven't dug in.
Mhm.
If I wanted to go and see what people were wanting from Parks and Rec specifically, where would I?
It's gonna be in there.
Yeah,
There's
so
a lot.
So like the thing we just looked at for the Harbor Committee.
Yeah.
That was one of the things.
Okay, so
that
it would
they were
be,
tasked
if I go click on my
When you
link,
click
it
on
will
your-
say right on there. what
Yes.
the comp-
Strategies
Okay,
on
okay.
it.
So things like the multi-generational rec opportunities, you're gonna see that.
And you can print it, I printed it out for the resilience committee,
Yeah.
and there were like
for the next
10 things that we're responsible for,
Yep.
and then 20 that we're consulting on.
Yep.
And we can check them off as we get through them.
yeah, so on that note,
great.
since you're filling out the Google form, like if your browser crashes or you lose power or something, you might lose all your answers. So I recommend downloading their, I turned the Google form into a Word doc version and a spreadsheet version, so whichever one you're more comfortable with, you can go there, download that, or make a copy online if you want other people to also edit it at the same time as you. So you can download that and work on it, or you can print it out and work on it, and then copy and paste your responses into the Google form.
You say that like it's. It used to be amazing, it's been years and I'm awful.
Well, I have a very
Your kids could do it.
They could. I don't have a computer really. So that.
Again,
that-
you'll only need to be using this a couple times a year, and anytime that you wanna really dive in, you know, Aaron or I can help and provide some.
But it looks like printing up one of those documents that Aaron just showed right there, like that would be a great thing to take to our early in the year meeting with our committee and go
Right.
through and use that as a plan. And then, like you said, in December and then May.
Right.
Maybe.
These are our goals for this year, and then in December, how did we do, and then in June,
Yeah.
you know, year end review,
Which ones are we rolling over?
right? Ongoing, the old ongoing, fall back.
So Aaron, can you download that into a Excel spreadsheet and then work on a spreadsheet?
So this you can download as a Word doc, and then there's also, if you go back to the main spreadsheet, you can download a spreadsheet version instead. So you have to go down a tab, but yeah, so then it has all your strategies. I think the spreadsheet version like lays it out the most easily, but yeah.
So that's like what Benji was saying, that you could have
Yeah.
something like that for your committee to look at and
Yeah.
pick what you wanna work on this year, which 3 things are we gonna focus on?
Yeah, and it's sorted in the same way as the Google form is, so at the top is the one you're responsible for, and then it's timeline from short to long.
And what you clicked on was strategies, that's,
Yeah, so when you click on the unnecessary spreadsheet that you could use if you wanted to, you start here with just the background information again, and then you just go to the actual tab.
Great job, Aaron.
She's amazing.
well done.
Make a lot of phone calls.
It's like a lot of us.
I can turn on my phone.
So, you know,
Yeah.
this right here is, you know, we have our first planner, town planner in the budget. Because we worked hard on the comprehensive plan and we really want to fulfill the goals the community set for us. And this is gonna help us do it. And it's gonna be all of us that make that happen, so. And if you need help, we're here because some of us are just learning Google Docs or some of these tools. So thank you. Okay, so we are done with the committee stuff. If you, the committee chairs want to go.
Great.
You know you wanna stay.
I know.
Someone wants supper.
Oh,
Oh, look at, she settled in.
I need to know what's going on.
She will be.
So, okay, so
Thanks,
the
Patty.
next item is very important, which is to vote on the property tax commitment figure that will be needed to, that we'll have to raise to cover what the town voted on in the budget when we had our budget vote at the town meeting. And Brandon has prepared 3 options for us to look at.
Jackie has prepared.
Oh,
the
Jackie
options.
prepared-
She's on.
So Jackie, if you wanna walk us through the options, I did pass these down the table when people got here because we hadn't reviewed this before.
Okay, hi. So what you should have in front of you are 3 different mill rate scenarios. So today we'll vote on hopefully the mill rate for the 2026 tax year. And in voting on the mill rate, we're also deciding on what the overlay will be for this upcoming fiscal year. So all the other numbers that you see here have really been predetermined by the budget and then my assessments that we've done this past year. So the 3 examples that you're seeing today are they result in a close to overlay amount that's similar to years past. So I went a little high, a little low, and pretty much the same as the overlay that you all have selected in recent years. So the three that have been prepared are 1335, 1340, and 1345. And just for reference, last year was 1285 for a mill rate. So the ones that I selected are all legally permissible. The legally permissible range for mill rates this year is 1325 to 1392. So we're kind of in the middle. With the 1335 mill rate, the lowest of the three, the resulting overlay is $86,000. And if you have the documents in front of you, the document that says Maine Revenue Services 2026 municipal tax rate, blah, blah, blah. It's down in the right-hand corner, the resulting overlay.
Jackie, will you give a quick explanation of what the overlay is for?
Yeah, so the law allows you to collect a little bit more than what the voters have approved. And that's just for normal things that happen when you're running a town. For example, not every single taxpayer will pay their bill. So we can't collect only the amount that we absolutely need. We need a little bit extra. That also gives Brandon and his team a little bit of contingency funds just in case something comes up that wasn't expected. Or, for example, if for some reason you had, the town all came together to vote on something outside of the budget, what was budgeted, to hold like a special town meeting, you may be able to pull those funds out of overlay instead of sending additional tax bills. Did I cover everything, Brandon? I guess
I think so. And then any other, if we were to ever make an error and say we had a property built twice, it's to cover
A mistake.
pieces like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
You'd never
So
heard
that-
that happen.
People are quick to let us know, that's for sure.
Brandon, can the overlay build from year to year?
Yeah.
I recalled it could.
Can it build from year to year?
Yeah.
Yeah, so any money that's unspent in the overlay will then sit in our general fund after that.
There's no loss of funds at all.
No, so my recommendation for these, the three that Jackie prepared is the 1340, which is the middle option. 86,000 would be bit less of an overlay than we.
What does the 1340, because I'm not looking at your document. What does 1340 give us for overlay?
130,
2,000.
130.
132.
And what about the last one?
178,295.
And the lower one was, yeah, I think I got 86,000.
Yeah.
So the middle choice is 132,308.
And how much of that did we use last year, if any? Over overlay?
It's not a number that I've got prepared. We'd have to go back and see how many people didn't pay their taxes last year. And so I know a lot of liens went out. I don't know, Irene, if you can speak to that number or not.
I think we've got over $100,000 left in property taxes that have not been collected yet.
And last year our overlay was around 120,000.
And then Brian, the other thing is that overlay funnels into the fund balance. And if that piles up into more money, then we try and keep 2 months of expenses as a savings. But if it gets beyond that, then we use it to reduce taxes. It's not just piling up.
Right.
Right, there's money in there, yeah.
That's how much, 1,000? 13 what?
1340.
Per $1,000 value.
Right.
Jackie, do you wanna, I don't know if you have it in front of you, but do you wanna share the context from the other towns that you work with? I think that's helpful for board.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I do think it's helpful. So I work in 4 other municipalities. There's 2 that I know off the top of my head. One town I just committed last week. I guess this is a little bit getting into the weeds, but the town of St. George is drastically undervalued. So our property tax assessments are at 62% of market value. And that's important context when you're talking about mill rates because it means that our mill rate essentially could artificially look high because we're collecting more, or I guess, trying to find an easy way to describe this. So bottom line is that we're drastically undervalued and our mill rate potentially for this year could be 1340. I have two other towns that are 100% value, which means that their mill rate should be pretty low because they have so much value. When you do the math to collect for the budget. One of my towns, VZ, is at 100% value, and their mill rate for this year was, I think, 1535. So even though our values are much higher, their mill rate is actually exceeds what you all are. So if they were at 60%, their mill rate might be in the 20s. And a town of Eddington that I just got to 100% last year was at 1210, which is a pretty similar mill rate. So again, you would expect if their values were at 62% of market, their mill rate may be more in like the 20s. So in comparison, you have to think about these things when you're comparing mill rate to mill rate across different municipalities. But essentially what I'm trying to say is the mill rate's really low in the town. And it's always important to consider like the actual impact on everyone's wallets. Everybody who lives here and pays taxes here. However, I do think it's important context to understand that this mill rate is low despite the increase year over year that we've seen, 1285 last year to potentially 1340 this year. It is an increase. It's going to cost people more. But in comparison to other towns that I work in, the mill rate is quite low here.
But this is what would need to be raised to cover what the voters passed as a budget.
Correct.
And give us some overlay, but
And have,
that.
and have this buffer in case some people don't pay or whatever. So, do people have questions? I'd be inclined to go with the middle choice. It's hard to face doing 86,000 and what do you do if, you're in a pickle.
Well, we gotta, the thing is for me, and then when I saw it before, is I might not kind of like it, but the taxpayers voted for that budget.
Right.
It isn't like we can not do that.
Right.
We have to choose one of these.
Well, that's what I mean. That's what I mean. And so, and I think the middle line too, or even the high side, but if Brandon feels comfortable with the middle line, and I feel comfortable with the middle line,
If we have $100,000 people haven't paid, the 86 would not, we'd be in trouble. Span?
Yeah, the other thing people might do, just for reference, is if you did look at the comprehensive plan in the economic development section there's all 20 towns within Knox County are listed in their mill rates, and we do fine.
Okay.
We're in good shape relative to many.
I'm trying to make a motion that we go with Brandon's recommendation.
The 13.4.
Middle figure, yeah. I'll second it.
Any other discussion? All in favor? That's all of us. All right, so Brandon did, print out, this is the one, right?
We decided to
Yeah, and we're signing this as assessors. Is that
Decide.
Just for comparison, 2024 Edgecombe mill rate was 2198.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Thomason.
Yeah. So when are you moving up?
I know.
Sister-in-law, her husband, someone's terrorists and they pay.
And again, we have a contract for a reval that's supposed to be completed in 2027. I'm very confident it will not be on time. Bangor was not on time. And they could have already started here. Jackie and I have a meeting with them in a couple of weeks.
So
but
theoretically, when that's done, the mill rate should drop.
there's no theoretically about it. It will drop.
The mill rate will drop. We still need
Well, bring them,
Still need to raise the same amount of
Right,
money that the voters.
but it brings everybody into a line, everybody's paying their fair share.
Right.
I mean, when I moved here, it was 7, 8.
Well, it'll probably be similar to that again in a couple of years.
That would be great to see.
Well, it's inevitable, the budget's gotta go up, because you gotta pay expenses and stuff.
And I feel pretty confident that it's our waterfront that is more disproportionately under.
No way.
So.
Wow.
No, I feel like we're being pretty
The
fiscally.
reevaluation for Edgecombe, and it went from that 21 to 977 in 2025. That's a very
Yeah.
It really helps.
Right.
Depending on where you.
Yeah, right.
People live on Dennison Road. That's what's.
Any other questions for Jackie before we let her go?
Jackie, we so appreciate you and your professional expertise. These are hard things for us and we need your help and we're grateful for it.
I'm so happy to be here. So thank you guys too.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jackie.
So,
Can I ask a finance related question? I should know the answer to, but I don't recall. The fund balance is supposed to cover money like from the time the year starts until you start collecting taxes in September, which is a 3-month period. But we only have 2 months of expenses in the fund balance. So how do we make it through that period?
We get money from things other than just property taxes. We're collecting money every day for excise tax on vehicles. We collect money for
Building
excise
permits,
tax on boats.
mooring fees and.
Mooring fee.
right, I mean, those aren't big ticket items, so.
They're property is.
Well, you tell me it's enough to cover expenses.
Yes, until property taxes start.
Right, I mean, it used to be, they used to try and have 3 months in fund balance, and then it got cut to 2 months or
No,
something.
Ken, we've always wanted to.
He was on the budget committee.
I was with them. Yeah, okay, sorry.
I will note that Jackie did really great work to get commitments prepared much earlier this year. You may remember we did it in September and bills were due.
Oh, that's right.
weeks Later,
Probably.
and we had to.
Oh, right.
Sort of suspend late payment fees and all of that, so. Just really appreciate how early you were able to get this done, Jackie.
Yes, thank you.
I just have to
Alright.
jump in and say thanks to Megan for making my life easy and doing all of the prep work.
Good. So while we're still on budget things, I'm the liaison to the budget committee and Betty Oak's term ended June 30th, and I'm gonna nominate her to serve another 3-year term on the budget committee.
I'll second you.
All in favor? That's right. So you can let her know that and,
I already did.
okay. Do her paperwork.
She can see the future.
There was an attachment you all had. At our last meeting, we discussed and decided on what we would charge food trucks or other light commercial users for 1 month permit fee. So if you, the changes are all in that light commercial user section. So, I put 170. Yeah, I did add this note because we had agreed that if, that there would be only one food truck on the landing at one time. That whether or not there was capacity for it would be, the judgment of the harbor master and the town manager. And, if more than one operator wanted to have a food truck, then we would consider adopting a bidding process so that if we wouldn't be just picking our friend who makes hamburgers or whatever. They have the one we have. So, if people feel like this accurately describes the, regulation we talked about last week, we could vote on it now and just say this is the regulation adopted as of today.
So is this everything that was,
Everything else is the same.
and the harbor committee looked at this and thought everything was good?
Yeah, this all, everything else in here is exactly the same as what we decided last year based on their recommendations. The only change was this 175 for a 1 month permit. So I'll make a motion that we adopt this regulation. Somebody want to second that?
I'll second it.
All in favor? Okay, so that's done. We can post that. New version on the website. And after our last meeting with the, where we talked about the cell service report, Nicole shared with me some information about what Colby's been doing to improve cell service in Fort Clyde. So why don't you tell everybody what that is?
Yeah, I'll give you all an update. So, Colby is a Verizon client. And Verizon makes something called a Femco tower. And they're not a big tower that you put out, it's just a little unit that you can put on a building. And it doesn't deliver additional cell service much beyond the footprint of that building. So we trialed one on the Seaside Inn. That's a small unit. It costs $175 through the deal that Colby has with Verizon, and it could support up to 6 lines. And if you go into the Seaside Inn with your phone, it goes ding because everything suddenly loads that hasn't been loading while you're wandering around the town. And we've noticed that, especially on active nights at the Red Barn Cafe, all those lines are easily occupied. And so we've decided to move ahead with installing the next level up, the enterprise level, which provides 40 additional cell lines, both on the Seaside Inn and on the Squid Ink building area. And so the reason we're trying to do, we don't have them yet, we've got them on order with Verizon, but the reason we're trying to do this as quickly as possible is to get data on if that is enough to support, or does it also become saturated during the really busy times down.
Password protected? Or is this?
No,
No,
you can
if you
just
get close to a Verizon, it picks you up.
yeah, it just picks you up. It does put burden on the Colby Ethernet and internet service, so we would have to have a longer discussion about if that was an option elsewhere along the peninsula. But I will be having the Center for Resilience and Economic Impact formally join or apply to join the Business Alliance on St. George, and then bring these ideas and this opportunity to other businesses along the peninsula to see if they want to participate in a similar program in upcoming years.
Do you know what that supermodel mini tower costs?
$1,500.
$1,500. Yeah, I wondered if that,
It's not that bad.
right. I wondered if that was similar to what they were talking about putting like on fire trucks and ambulances, because they had said those were like mini towers.
Yeah.
So that people around the fire truck would have service then.
Yeah.
Is it 1,500 only for Colby with a discount, or can anyone buy one for 50?
That's what I'm trying to still find out, because you got quoted a slightly higher price.
Yeah.
Right? So I have
It
a
seems like
feeling-
it was around 2,000, but then he also said if we were doing multiple, like, you know,
We did 10, we get.
and well, or like, we were mostly not talking about building because this is really the town's building.
Right.
And we don't have a problem with service here, but, You know, he did say if we were buying them for fire trucks or something, you might get a break if you buy multiple
Yeah,
units.
and I just figured I'd start with the business alliance to have that
Right.
discussion. It doesn't have to be exclusive to that. That just seemed like the right representation of where people are gathering from the limited observations that I've made.
Right.
Marshall Point may be interested as well.
Okay,
I'm not sure if they attend the business alliance or not.
The lighthouse
Okay.
group.
yeah, if you guys could help me figure out who's not in that group, I would be interested.
Maybe Heron got too.
Yeah.
So
Business
this
alliance
is put
includes
on a
NGOs.
business, it's sort of like a community service kind of thing. It's not secure or anything, but you do have.
Well, it's your phone,
Service.
isn't, I think it's as secure as anywhere that you.
It's as secure as what you even got right now with the reception. It's just you're using,
A mini cell phone
Yeah.
tower.
Just think of it as like extra antennas.
but would it be worth the town doing something at the 10 cold storage?
So we
You know,
have,
your Ryan's down there and something.
Yeah,
80%.
That will do like 40,000 square feet. I don't know how many phones they pick up, but.
we have Wi-Fi at,
Right, but you can, because we have Wi-Fi, we could do something like that, but
Mhm.
maybe bigger at the cold storage.
Yeah,
yeah, I think it could be worth looking into for sure. And
keep in
then,
mind it's only for Verizon users though.
Mhm.
I still wanna explore if there are options for users.
the town, only Verizon lines.
I get better reception on my T-Mobile. Says, well, I had to come from US Cellular.
Yeah, but T-Mobile had better service down there without those,
Hmm.
so then. You know, that's where it would be nice if some,
We have no service in Port Clyde almost anywhere now.
well, what kind of,
I have Spectrum,
Yeah,
but I mean, I
Spectrum.
use it because I work all around Port Clyde and I have to go a certain place, which I've never in my whole life had to do.
right,
I
it's
can get
worse
it,
than
yeah,
ever
I can
now.
get it down at Squid Ink at the Port Clyde, probably because I'm connected to Good Landing. But if I go down Drifton, if I go down Glenmere, which never used to be a problem, on the stretch, I have nothing.
My school phone's Verizon.
Turkey Cove,
and
nothing.
I've lost a lot of reception on my Verizon.
Yeah, but it never used to be that way. There were dips.
Well, I
There were
did-
certain dips where you
It's
did
worse, it's much worse,
But I had to go from US Cellular, my personal phone, to
T-Mobile.
T-Mobile,
Yeah.
because it picks up a satellite if I lose.
Mine
But I
says
can-
it will, but it won't.
I can, in places in Port Clyde, when I go ramming around, I can pick
Yeah.
up better than I could before with T-Mobile.
It's made it hard to work because I'm communicating with my crew a lot and trying to, and I.
Right,
I
you
have
know, a
to
lot of
leave
people say
job,
my
find a
T-Mobile-
spot To get a text to go through. It's weird.
And some people say my T-Mobile doesn't, but I think it's the phone too.
Mhm.
They said, told us when I got my phone, so I upgraded to the newest, whatever, is that some of the older phones, you basically gotta upgrade to get the better, you know,
Yeah, I mean, I have a pretty new phone.
business. You know?
Yeah. I mean, it must, I mean, I'm not great with this kind of stuff, but I assume that the influx of people.
Well, that
Yeah,
plays a big role
difference
too.
too, because I've really started to
foliage.
notice
Yeah.
this in the
The
past
foliage.
3 months. So maybe it will get better in the fall. Winter.
All right, well, thank you for that.
Yes.
Yeah, and the data that we collect on those towers, once things clear out, can also maybe demonstrate.
Yeah, and I mean, people might think about switching to something that is more reliable, whether that's Verizon, if there's this, or T-Mobile. So, all right, we're, upcoming events. I just posted in here the Resilience Committee's upcoming meeting. Susie, are you thinking you're gonna have, information from the engineers about all the options for cold storage?
We closed the survey this morning and took it down, and Bina is supposed to have, the results to me by Friday at the latest, and I'll get it to all the committee members.
And what about the engineering, other information you asked for Sebago? Are you thinking they're gonna have that by August 4th?
They're very mindful of their budgetary limits, and I told them I didn't have any more money to spend. And so I am unclear on how much of a price I can get for our fifth option for fact.
Were you able to tell, when you closed the survey, how successful you were at getting, people? to
I
fill it
don't
out?
know, I couldn't get into that,
Yeah.
either Bill Batty or the Venus Scortis from FB Environmental.
They'll be able to tell you later.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm curious if.
Yeah, I'm curious too. I think about 15 people had been in there after 3 days or something, right after that meeting.
Yeah.
And
I feel like a lot of people had a lot to say, so I'm
Yeah.
curious that they
whether they
actually went
actually,
and did
Yeah,
it. Yeah,
I mean,
and I just did it last week, so
So,
I
great.
waited till later, but, or maybe, 5 days ago.
good, thank you for
Yeah.
doing it, of course.
All right, and we've got some concerts coming up, which raise money for charity, which is great. So, Brandon, you wanna do your?
Sure, yeah, again, we'll make a post tomorrow about the plan for the concert. It's currently scheduled for Wednesday with a rain date Thursday, so. Both of those may change, just stay tuned.
I was told, again, I helped Mark a lot with getting it out there publicly, and that if we can't do it Wednesday, we can't do it Thursday, they're potentially looking at the following Tuesday. So it should and hopefully will happen, regardless, but the goal is tomorrow, because Thursday's open.
It's kind of crazy, because we've had this huge dry spell.
Yeah, right, I mean, we need rain, so.
Oh, yeah.
We need some rain, but I think it will go on one way or another, someplace.
Well, and then there's always the talk, right? You have a talk on Wednesday?
No, not this
No,
Wednesday,
this-
not next
Next
Wednesday. 'Cause
Wednesday.
This Wednesday is the Maine Coast Fishermen's Association fundraiser.
Okay.
Next Wednesday is the Herring Gut one. So we don't wanna-
Right, and you guys just had them last week, right?
Yeah.
I just mentioned people are, and I've heard a lot of comments on the concerts and they're just thrilled. People love it. It's
A
like.
lot of people are coming
really
out of
great
town for this
Community
one,
building thing.
and because I've been sharing it, just helping.
Yeah, stop doing that.
People are coming at me,
You're the one.
people are coming at me like, what's gonna happen if it rains? I don't know, let me find out. But a lot of people were messaging me saying they were making a trip and they were, had friends coming from out of town, and so they really wanted to try to get a
So
feel. Yeah, but people are really happy.
Yeah,
And-
really
and-
good vibe.
And this guy's,
That's wonderful.
He's Griffin is amazing, and it will be a good show. Hopefully.
You're gonna have to get there at 3:30.
Bruce Bagley offered to help build a ramp or a platform to support the ramp at Drifting Beach. So we met down there and worked through some plans, and so the ramp is still there, and now it sits on a square platform that's got a handrail to step onto. And essentially what this does is it reduces the pitch of the ramp, so it brings it up an extra 18 inches and just makes it a little bit less steep. So that's been installed. Still waiting to see how it survives the biggest tides that we get, but so far so good.
Can it be removed in the off season, like if I ran?
Yeah, so everything right now that we do there is only seasonal and temporary, so.
Otherwise, we're gonna have to get permits.
Yeah, right, right.
Exactly.
I think that's great.
Paving is essentially done for the year and came in well under budget, and so I'm gonna be looking to figure out what we wanna do. If we wanna try to knock out another road now, I think we've got enough or close to a mile long road. And so if he's got the capacity to do another road now, I'd see him just move forward, trying to get our road plan caught back up. So we paved Clark Island Road, Second and Third Street, Snows Point Road, and Patton Point Road.
Snows Point Road looks great.
Yeah, and that one was getting a little tough, there's some
So what do they do at the edges? I was there the day they were paving, and it seemed like that maybe they were gonna come back and hopefully,
They usually put dirt on their shoulder.
yeah.
So
It
every
seemed like a little drop off.
every road and or driveway has an apron to help tie into it. And the overlay was anywhere between an inch to inch and a half, so these are not huge lips that are being created. And especially with new softer pavement, it will sort of smooth out into it with some traffic. And then we'll come back through and shoulder it as well, and that will help grade it all in.
So if you were gonna do another road, what would you recommend? What's
Likely,
next easiest?
well, Marshall Point is in pretty rough shape, and fits the distance, that we have available. The hard part is that it's so busy down there right now.
Rough time of year to do that one.
But there's really not a good time of year to do it, you know, we can't pave in the early spring, and so that would just need a bit more sort of community awareness, to be done beforehand. So I'm gonna meet with the lighthouse folks and see how they feel about it. The really tough part about that road is that it's so narrow at the end that it needs to be done in the single pole, which essentially doesn't allow traffic in or out, for the duration of that, yeah.
Don't do it Labor Day weekend.
Right.
Yeah, big wedding down there.
But then it widens out and would eventually be able to go back to 2 lanes. So, if not Marshall Point, we also were looking at Long Cove Road. Although that needs a granite culvert replaced, and so if we can get that done in time. And then there's a bunch of small roads that are scheduled for in the harbor next summer. So, but probably Long Cove Road or Marshall Point Road. I will say, we did not do a great job of communicating that paving was when it was happening this year. There were a couple factors that went into that. One, I've been trying to get this road plan interface on the website where you can log on at any point, see when your road was last paved, when it's scheduled to be paved, you know, what's being done this season. So on, that was supposed to be done before paving started, and I wasn't able to get it live. So that was gonna be the main communication tool. And then the other thing is that the paving happened much earlier. We were, I think into September last year when we were paving, so. So I know that some folks were caught off guard by that and would have preferred some notice, and so, that will be improved, in future years. I said an update about this last time, but we made a bunch of improvements to the cemetery, regrading the roads, reinstalling the flagpole, limbing some of the low hanging branches. We've got some more work to do in there, cutting back along the fence line, and some more limbing and a tree that needs to come down that we can all do in house. We don't have to contract any of that out, thankfully. And then we need to add some gravel and some more low spots, but it was certainly in need of some attention. You know, we haven't really done anything beyond mowing since taking over the ownership, so.
Which is like 9 years now or
Right,
something.
right, and so gates are currently being repaired. Met with Bill and Aaron and Ryan to begin work on a harbor management plan, and so we'll be bringing some example plans from the to the next committee meeting and solicit some feedback about what the committee feels like needs to be in there, but that project will likely hit the ground running this year. Just wanted to highlight that Ryan has had to make several rescues, not always folks out of the water, but broken down boats that he's pulled back in, pushed back in. I think he's done 4 in the last month, and some of them happened on days where he didn't think he would have been able to do it in the old boat, and so hate to see anybody run into boat problems. Happy that Ryan now has a boat that sets him up to actually help people when they are running into challenges.
That was another public comment that I heard. I was down there for one of the concerts, and somebody said to me, what a good decision, you know, we had made to buy that boat. And I said, you know, that there'd been planning and money set aside for years to make that happen. And he was like, well, you guys chose well. That boat will be here long after we're gone.
Yeah, I don't intend to have to ever buy another boat. Well, I mean, that's my hope, so. I found out recently, and Ken, this is important for you, is that volunteers are not sort of blanket covered by our insurance. So when the Conservation Commission is having a work day and working on town property, we need to essentially add them on for those scheduled events. And it's very cheap, I think it's like $2 a person. But we have to do it.
By event? By event?
Yeah.
So, cause I'm thinking about like Parks and Rec, if like if you're wearing your booster hat, how does that work? Cause those people are. For insurance coverage?
Like when we were directing traffic the other day and people were trying to run so.
Okay.
Welcome to my world.
I actually went to Muscle Ridge thinking we don't need anything for that, but, okay.
Seems like our existing policy would cover,
No, it doesn't.
How much notice would you need?
Probably,
A business day or.
I'd say a week.
Okay.
I mean, we usually know who's
You
going
have
to.
dates, when.
Well, I mean, for us specifically, that we do this. The 5K every year at the same time.
Yeah,
Would you just go ahead and
no, because
We are
I
directing
need to
traffic.
know who was
Yeah.
volunteering.
specifically?
Oh, you need to know the names of the people too, or just X number of people?
I had looked into it at one point, I had some general information, I think they just need a head count,
Okay.
I think.
That's easy to purge.
Gonna say, because like Conservation Committee can plan it, say, oh, these 5, but then 3 or 4 more decide they have the time and they show up.
But I feel that would be a very limited few committees that would need that.
Well,
Yeah.
And there are times it's not committee members, it's just volunteers that
Right.
show up
Yeah.
when we put out a request for volunteers. So
Right.
Well, that's
Hands-on.
specifically what I'm talking about is
Yeah.
volunteers.
So if you can say, I'm gonna have 50 there, and then only 4, but still, you can cover that.
Are committee members considered volunteers?
Yes,
So we've never covered this before.
correct.
What if we don't cover it? What's the risk?
If somebody.
Have we ever had anything happen?
Especially when you're out there, you guys are out there with chainsaws and stuff.
Well, a number of years ago, we had one member of the committee a while back that would want to go out and do his own chainsawing. We implemented a policy that said no chainsaws unless there's 2 people on site. So we haven't had a problem, but.
Still, you could have a problem.
Right, but the question I had asked Brandon came up because we got asked by the school committee, because we went out to see the property,
Right.
seashore property to take a look. And then it came back from the CDC, does the town have coverage for us to be on the property?
For them, you probably wouldn't have to be.
The town is covered. Individuals that are volunteering don't have any coverage from the town.
Unless we buy some.
Right.
So what do you recommend that committee chairs give you a heads up when they're doing things like this?
Yeah, I mean, I think if
If
there,
you want to add volunteers to the coverage,
yeah, I think if there are things that have, I mean, obviously chainsaws and people covering something.
They want a little.
I mean,
There's never been a problem. I'm opposed to adding, I just think it's.
I mean, I think
We don't need.
it could be a situation.
$2 a person.
If they're doing something with trees and they're limbing and dropping trees, then maybe it would be smart, but I mean, as far as us directing traffic.
Yeah.
I'm not really
You
that
either need
concerned
to
about
add
it.
people or have them sign a waiver, one or the other.
Yeah, I mean, things that have.
The waivers, we've been told before, the waivers don't be used.
$2.
Well, again, the town is covered, so a waiver would be an attempt to protect the town. The town is covered if somebody gets hurt on our property.
Well, no, but like if I got run over directed traffic by one of those crazy golf carters the other day, I would.
That tried to run him over.
The town insurance would not have covered my injuries.
Right.
Correct. So if I'd signed a waiver, the town would also not be, as a town, we need to protect ourselves. We either need to.
The town is protected by our insurance. That part I'm saying. So this is just that it.
It
you're not
wouldn't
covered.
pay for your medical treatment and things like that.
Right.
Well, I think if there's anything involving motor vehicles or chainsaws.
Forklift drivers are kind of crazy.
But, and so I think that, yes, you need chairs of committees that do things like that, to just let them know X number of people are gonna be here on August 15th. And will have the coverage.
I mean, that's fairly easy for Parks and Rec. I don't know about conservation.
I am going to put it on committee chair, so I frankly don't have the
Right,
time or capacity to try to track that down and.
But again, it's a limited amount of committees. It
yeah, I
really
don't think
even-
the rest of them don't have it.
Budget's pretty safe.
Yeah. budget-
But on that golf cart point, I saw 2 times in the last 10 days, I've seen somebody driving a golf cart in Port Clyde on streets and it's.
Oh,
Lively.
I was non-stop.
There's like at
Oh,
least
didn't you-
15 golf carters that go back and forth on the streets, like they own it.
We need to put that on the website again.
It is 8 o'clock, just to, so I don't know if you want me to keep going or.
Yes, but I do think that we need to remind people, you know, that it's not legal to drive golf carts.
I think they
That's
know what.
never gonna happen unless there's law enforcement.
It's pretty sad because up on the other end of town, or even here in the middle of town, there was a couple and they were after them left and right.
Yeah, no, they
But yet
have,
down there, they seem, I don't know, we won't.
there's 4 or 5 families that use, they're back and forth
There's
all
a
day.
couple of businesses running.
Businesses, but definitely private. It has been like that for years.
So I'll make a motion that we go a few more minutes to, wrap up.
Second.
Brandon's, all in favor?
I thought carry forwards were gonna be on the agenda. I don't know if those are supposed to be in my report.
Well,
At this point, do you want?
you told me you weren't sure you were gonna be ready, so I didn't have it on the agenda. But do we need to do
I
them
misremembered that.
tonight? Well, I'm.
No, you don't have to. We can do them at the
We can
next.
do them
meeting.
right now though, cause I'm here still and I'd really love to hear them.
Do you how long a list is it?
It's lengthy, but it won't take more than a couple minutes, unless there's a bunch of discussing.
There's not gonna be discussion.
Well, I mean, from.
Just the way to do them. Everybody's tired. That was true.
So I'll go department by department, if you all want it sent to you differently after the fact, it can be so.
That'd be great. Here, I'll try to write it in.
It's actually, are you joking or you're gonna do it? You're joking, okay.
I'll connect with Aaron to make sure that they're specifically in the minutes.
Yeah. Good.
So department one,
Good night.
we have 26,626 remaining in legal and professional. Again, we were trying to enter into the contract with Haley Ward about the housing and land use ordinance, and so I'd like to carry forward that piece, the remaining balance there. The $20,000 remaining for the audit because it's not yet complete, but will be in this next fiscal year. And then 20,878 for our building maintenance. We were waiting for 4 months for a permit from the fire marshal's office to continue our renovations upstairs, so that's why that was not completed. So that's department one. Any questions?
Looks good.
In department three, it's the remaining balance in the comp plan, so $966. That is grant money, and so we can't
Part of that is grant money.
just bank it anyway. And so Aaron has done approval to actually use some of it towards the Haley Ward. Am I confusing?
You can do that,
Yeah.
yeah, where they've got all that.
Yeah,
Oh, you-
that's right.
Oh, you did, great.
And then the Conservation Commission's unexpended balance of 32,182. Again, they carry forward their balance year to
How much
year.
was it? I'm sorry.
32 something.
$32,182.47.
Correct.
And a good portion of that is money that was donations and underruns of the grant that we then
Yeah.
got moved into the main account.
The fire chief would like to carry forward the remaining balance in uniforms, $22,575. He knew he wasn't gonna have time to order them this year, and so this line was cut in the current year budget, planning to carry forward the unexpended funds from this year. So there was a decrease to offset that. Building maintenance of 14,902. They have repairs at the 73 fire station. That they've just been struggling to get a contractor in there for. And then the remaining balance of equipment purchase, $8,825. Any questions on the fire department? Only one in property maintenance is the cemetery maintenance of $6,651. And that's to just support some of the projects that they haven't finished yet, like the gates and the sign. Solid waste, $7,315 in building maintenance. That's to repair the electronics building. And then $2,328 on equipment maintenance. The skid steer needs new tires that they were intending to order this year and just did not order them yet.
Which was that one, Brandon, sorry.
$2,328.54.
Got it.
That's a nice tire.
Big generator.
Aaron's wearing them all, practicing them.
Parks and Recreation would like to carry forward the $2,652 for community programming.
I don't know.
Harvard's would like to carry forward. Harvard's would like to carry forward small equipment, which is $299, fuel $135, float landing $585, and then land maintenance $732.
I don't know, that's a long money.
Is that all of them?
And then EMS, training and workshops, $1,032, and that is all of them. And that total represents roughly 50% of the amount that we came under budget. So you take the 300,000, this is right around 160, and so there's still a very comfortable cushion for any sort of invoices that come in to go towards this. The next.
Great, you need a vote on that?
Yes.
I'll make the motion.
Us, okay, all in favor? That's all of us.
Thank you.
So, tomorrow morning, Brandon and I are talking to Bill Kelly regarding the Ripley Creek summons and hearing that is scheduled for next Monday at 6 o'clock. That'll be a special select board meeting just on that topic. And I will send you whatever homework and prep stuff, you would want to read before that happens.
Okay.
A public. Yeah, it's open to the public. Everything is open to the public. So I think we'll defer the committee reports until our next regular meeting on August 10th.
That's good.
So if somebody wants to make a motion to adjourn.
I had so much fun.
I'm trying to be Randy.
We're having so much fun.
I just wanted to get the hand up for you.
No, tell Sam.